Well, that was insane. Weapons is a brand new film from director Zach Cregger starring Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, and Benedict Wong. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been hearing nothing but praise for this movie. As I got closer to this screening tonight, people have just been talking about it. I'm a big fan of Zach Cregger. I love what he did with Barbarian. And so even though maybe like a couple months ago I wasn't that excited for this movie, over time it somehow worked its way up to being one of my most anticipated horror films of the year. And I'm happy that I felt that way because I just got out of this thing and oh my god, what a movie. There's a lot to talk about before I get started. I do want to let you know this is a spoiler-free review, so don't worry about that. But without further ado, let's talk Weapons. So the synopsis reads, when all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. And off the top, I just gotta say, I think that this will no doubt be the craziest movie that I see all year. Maybe not the scariest, even though it is absolutely terrifying at certain parts. I just mean it's shocking in a way that I'd compare to only recently maybe The Substance. I had a similar feeling walking out of the theater tonight because this is the type of movie that is just constantly throwing you for a loop. And that's what Zach Cregger does, to be honest. Like, if you're not familiar with this filmmaker, he most recently made Barbarian, and that was kind of his coming out party as a horror director. But I remember watching that movie, and you get about halfway through, and all of a sudden, everything just changes. You know what I mean? He's constantly defying your expectations, or at least throwing your expectations out the window. And now after Weapons, I'm left sitting here like, God, is this guy just a genius? This movie is one of the wildest, creepiest, scariest, most gruesome, but also hilarious film that you're gonna see, not just this year, but I feel like in your life. And I don't want to seem over the top with the hype level because this movie certainly might not be for you. It just was for me. It was an absolute experience. I highly recommend going to the theater and seeing this one rather than waiting for it to come to streaming because the premise alone, it hooks you. I feel like anybody would be hooked by this. These kids go missing, 17 kids, I believe, all from the same classroom. They go vanishing overnight, and the way that sequence takes place pretty early on, and the way that they go missing is just weird. It's a trip. This is one of those visual things I'm talking about with Zach Cregger. What he does with the camera, and also what he does with the direction here. These kids are running like the Naruto run down the street, and I've never seen that run be creepy before, like running down a street that is just pitch black at the end, and you see these kids just vanish into the darkness. And as the viewer, you're like, where the hell are they going? What the hell is happening? And then you're just thrust into this story that is absolutely bonkers. I would say all the performances are great. Like all of the actors chosen for this, I know there was a lot of stuff that happened with the writer's strike and a lot of delays, and so the cast for this film ended up completely changing, but who we ended up with here seems pretty perfect. All of them turned in phenomenal performances. It's a bunch of MCU people. There are certainly more characters than this, but I do want to just shout out Benedict Wong was very impressive in this film. I haven't really seen him in too many other genres aside from just playing Wong in the MCU, and to see him do something different, at times shockingly different in this movie, it was terrifying, but it was also awesome. He really pulled it off. Then you also have Josh Brolin, and this was the guy that sort of held it down for me. He wasn't the main character, he was one of the pieces to the puzzle of this whole thing, but just having Josh Brolin in this film, he's the sort of guy, at least for me, that I just feel like I can trust in a movie. Anytime I see that he's in it, I remember when they showed the first trailer for Dune, and I was like, okay, Josh Brolin's in that, I'm sure it'll be good. But then you also have Alden Ehrenreich, I don't know how to say his last name, or Ehrenreich, I'm sorry, but you know, this is another actor. I talked a bit about it when I was covering Ironheart here on the channel, but I'm just happy to see him have some success. He plays a police officer in this freaking movie, and he's so freaking good. But really, the entire story, I would say, revolves around the teacher of the class that goes missing, and she's played by Julia Garner. And although there are some choices made with this character that I didn't so much like, I would just say like character traits about her. As far as her performance, she did a great job, and each of these characters really tells a different story throughout this thing, and then they all sort of come together. So as much as I say she's like the main character, she's really not, and there's not enough character development there to really pick on. She's just there, and I feel like she was the perfect cast for the role that she had to be in. I really like Julia Garner, man. She's a phenomenal actress. You had had Wolfman this year, but then you also have her in Fantastic Four, and now you have her in this. She's just doing a great job in Hollywood right now. But the last dude I will mention is my Euphoria dude, Austin Abrams. He plays this junkie guy, and he's so funny. He's really, really funny. I mean, again, there's some character trait things there that kind of had me uncomfortable. There are definitely some squeamish things with his character, but the way that he plays it is rock solid. But you'll find that this movie ends up not being about any of them. It's about these kids that go missing and what's behind that. As great as it all is to spend time with all of these actors that you know and love, and as funny as some of their dialogue is, there's a much more sinister thing happening in the background here. And when we get to those moments, it's so shocking. There was actually a jump scare in this movie that got me better than, I can't remember the last time that there was a jump scare that got me this good in my seat in the theater. I was like, oh God. But with that being said, you might hear a lot of reviews talking about just how good of a film this is. Like, people might say it's the scariest horror movie of the year, and in a similar way to Longlegs, I remember that being touted as like the scariest movie you've ever seen. I found that movie absolutely terrifying, but there were a lot of people out there that have kind of a different taste, and they were like, that wasn't the scariest movie ever. I feel like if you go into this movie with the anticipation that you're going to watch a straight up horror movie, it might not be exactly what you're expecting, but I think that that's a good thing. I just hope that people do give it the chance to sort of unravel, because again, there are 6 different stories that take place in this. If you saw Barbarian, you kind of know how Zach Cregger works, right? He has this way of sort of chopping things up and then wanting to bring it together in the end. And although I thought that was a fun way to dissect this plot and move through things, it really lended itself to my only big criticism of the film, and that was the pacing just felt a little clunky at times. It felt like it was dragging towards the middle, and so you have these 6 stories going on. I think it was 6 stories going on, but I felt like you could probably have cut one of these characters. Now, I don't want to sacrifice any of them because all of them were fantastic, but I feel like you could have gotten away with cutting one of them and then tightening this thing up just a tiny bit, and I think it could have flowed a little bit better. But I'm not going to really complain about the movie that we got, because your theatrical experience is much different than the experience that you might have the second time watching it or watching it at home. I cannot wait to revisit this thing a second time because there are so many things that I didn't catch. There are also some great other performances that I just want to watch again. A couple of them I can't really reveal because I don't want to give away anything, but there is a kid in this movie. His name's Alex. I think he's played by Cary Christopher is the kid's name. This kid was phenomenal in this movie. And so, yeah, guys, but I have 2 more quick things I want to talk about. The first has to do with Easter eggs. If you're a fan of Barbarian, I just want to say, watch out for some Easter eggs, because Zach Cregger is already the type of filmmaker that's just kind of putting some of the stuff from his other movies in this movie. There's one specifically in the middle of this movie that will make you laugh really, really hard. At least it made me laugh really freaking hard. So keep an eye out for that. Also, I want to mention this movie is really gruesome. So we talked about the horror element. We talked about how funny it is also. But if you're a fan of like The Substance or movies like that, I think you're really going to like parts of this. If you are a little bit squeamish when it comes to horror movies, there might be a couple of moments in this where you're like, oh gosh, but trust me, I think that you can handle it. Stick it out because this movie's amazing. But that's about all I have to say on Weapons. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I want to watch it again. As for my Jones Vibe star rating, I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Close to perfect, but there's just some pacing issues there. It's 2 hours and 8 minutes. That's kind of a long horror movie. But anyway, my friends, if you go see Weapons, please let me know down in the comments section what you thought about it. Are you excited to go see it? Your opinion is always welcome around here, and I would love to hear what you have to say. Also, and more than anything, I hope you guys are having a great day and keeping up the good vibes. I will see you in the next video. Peace!